Is everybody clear about what point zero is right now? I think it's important enough for me to go back over it again, because I want people to hear that answer to that question. What your question was is what is point zero? And I was saying to you that it's the point of superconsciousness where that your consciousness is pure thought from the mental reservoir or the void creates a sort of a wormhole or a black hole that acts as a stargate into this superficial three-dimensional hologramic light show that we call reality. And the transition from the void, which I told you what's really there is everything. There's nothing new under the sun because everything that we've ever thought is out there somewhere. So that there's not even a new color that any man or woman can think of tonight that doesn't already exist somewhere. You can't think of another color or another number that doesn't exist. If you think I'm kidding, try. In other words, my point is everything that exists always did and always will. And anything that doesn't exist never did and never will, because it belongs permanently to the realm of non-existence. And everything that's in existence does by virtue of the fact that it's here. And so that's why the relevance of each and every one of you as an individual is that all that is could not and would not be all that is minus even one of you. So when the master teacher says that you're all, or you're Fa'ut, or you're the source, or I am who I am, that's a literal statement. You follow me? There is no us without you. And I don't just mean spelling, I mean actually. There is no us without you. Now when you're coming from point zero, or from the realm of pure consciousness, that interface between there and here is the best example I can give is the way that you breach the barrier between the spiritual realm and the physical realm, which are two vibratory planes of existence. Because what I'm saying is that when you see mystery clouds, for example, and a sham, there's a cloud in the sky, and then all of a sudden it materializes into a sham on this side, and then you say, wow, I thought that was a cloud, and it turned into a sham. No, it was a sham all the time. You have to understand that it existed as a sham in the spiritual realm as a complete and whole vehicle. But it was vibrating on a frequency or a resonance that it couldn't be detected by you in the same way that a hunter blows a silent whistle, and you stand next to the hunter and you don't hear it, but the dog is 50 yards away and his ears shoot up in the air because the frequency is not beyond his range of perception. So he can hear it and he can possibly see the ship before you. That's why a lot of times a dog or bark in a corner that appears to be empty to you with hair raised up on his back, and you think he's having a nervous breakdown, but he's seeing or hearing something that's beyond your perception or your range of frequency. So when you start seeing it incarnate as a mist or a cloud, it's starting to slow down into this physical plane, into this vibration, and incarnate, and then as a craft that is just dropping down into your frequency, or on your channel, or on a way where you can hear it or you can see it. I want to be clear to people that it didn't exist as just nothing on the other side or as a misty vehicle, but it was just as solid as it is to you, but it was vibrating on a frequency that was beyond yours. So when something comes from point zero, again, the example I gave is if I ask you to think up a picture of a woman that you've never seen in your experience before, and you may look up and to the left, and you make a sound like which is the Om vibration, where you're in creator mode. That is the voice of the universal mother mind of all. And I call it a mother because it's giving birth to creation from that void, or from that mental reservoir. And if I press you for the image, when you're getting out of your imagination, the first word in image is imagination, you may say, I don't have it yet, my thoughts are still kind of foggy or cloudy. That's the same example of the mystery clouds where the ships are coming in and they turn to a vapor or mist or a cloud before they apparently incarnate. But point zero is really the point at which the mental reservoir actually transits in from what you call nothing, in apparent nothing, into something that's tangible for us here on the physical plane, or on the higher plane, on the spiritual plane even. That's when things come, the point at which things come into being. And when you say you want to try to figure out how to control that at night when you leave, it's going to take practice and visualization in the same way, again, I repeat, as when you had a zero time reference as a physical incarnated baby that came from point zero down to this physical plane, and you were placed in the mother and the father 3 months before they came together physically with the sexual act, that the spiritual etheric essence of you was placed inside of them as a light being, so that when you took on the physical form and you were born, the cord was cut, and when the doctor spanked you, you drew breath, which ignited the sun inside of you and binded the flesh to the spirit to create the living soul. At that point, you became part of this zero time reference, and you began to age and grow here. But even though you were fully evolved spiritual being, when you got into this new vehicle, into this new place, you were new here and you really didn't know how to operate it, so that when your mother stood across the room and called you and asked you to take your first steps and let go of the couch, you smiled and laughed, and you have confidence in her and you love her. And so when you turned and tried to make that first step, you fumbled and you fell and you cried, sometimes out of pain and out of frustration, because you can't get your feet to do what you want them to do. It's almost like the first time you started driving a car. You hit the brakes too hard, you turn too sharp, you exaggerate all your moves, you got squeezing the wheel and this, that, and the other, till after a while we see you a few years later and you talking on the cell phone and rapping to your woman and chewing bubble gum and reading a comic book and going through lights and traffic and making intricate turns and decisions, and you're not even cognizant of it, because the car becomes as an extension of yourself. And that's what happens with your physical body. After time and practice, you learned how to control this apparatus to the point where that you could write your name. You could, not only could you pick up an apple and walk, but you could draw intricate portraits of women that you never even saw before by pulling them from point zero down. You could bring things from that place to this place, and that's an example of God walking in the cool of the garden. Are you following me? But you have to remember that from either end of it, from ascending or descending, it takes practice to learn. Are you following what I'm saying? So, what I'm saying is that when you go to sleep every night, you have to have persistence. Be very clear, brother, about what it is you want to accomplish, where you want to be very specific about where you want to go, and what you want to do when you get there. You have to be very clear about it. Have it in your mind, picture it every night, and it'll be better to have the same dream every night, to repeat the same thing every night over and over again until you master that. Are you following me? I hope that helped you.